Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 the Waste Management Phoenix Open Preview Show, and I'm going to do a recap of the Farmers. We'll try to make that pretty quick and to get into the course and the player field and everything that we're going to be looking for to be successful this upcoming tournament from a betting and a DFS perspective. I thank you very much for clicking and spending a few moments with you. I think you'll see that I do try to get into the analysis straight away, and let's do that as we speak. So real quick, let's do a quick recap. Of course, Patrick Reed won the Farmers. It was a true war of attrition. As we saw, no one could really kind of hunt him down. It was actually kind of a boring Sunday tournament to watch. We've had some exciting finishes. I'd have to say, like I said, this one for me was not that great, but of course you had the controversy, which I don't think there was really any controversy. You know, it happened to Rory. I'm not going to get into the details, but long story short, he did everything by the rules, and people just typically don't like Patrick Reed. I do actually like Patrick Reed, but it is what it is. Why I bring this up is that if we look at his power rankings from a stroke gain analysis over like his past 6-7 events, so this is the start of the new year, he's played about 6-7 times. His around the green was actually pretty low for Patrick, which I thought was a shocking piece of information. Typically, on average against the field is around 100. So off the tee and approach, average, putting extremely above average, but around the green, which was always his strong suit, was actually, you know, where he was also faltering. And so what I want to do is then go into some analysis of what happened from a stroke gain perspective at the Farmers. And amazing enough, Patrick Reed actually led the field, gaining almost 4 strokes around the green. Hence, what really sold it for him to win was putting and around the green. And that's so unique. I literally don't think there's a tournament that I've done the analysis on that the guy who won led around the green. But it is something to note. I don't even think I had it in my keystroke analysis in the model that I built. Still had some really nice picks. Things worked out pretty decent, but it is something that I will look at moving forward. I don't know if it's an outlier or if it is something that is definitely needed there. I'm guessing it is definitely something that's needed there because, you know, you're not going to be hitting all the fairways and greens. And so you are definitely going to have to do well around the greens. Okay. Just a few things I wanted to look at real quick. So the guys that are in this kind of cream color were my picks. So I did have Patrick Reed, I believe, to have a top 10 finish. He definitely did better than that. I did not have Victor Hovland. I thought heavy and hard about Victor because I like his tee ball, his approach, but was just really worried about his around the green and putting. And but you know, did well, had a T2 and had 22 birdies. I had Finau, I believe, at a top 20 finish. I did not have Norlander. We had Palmer, Schauffele, Rahm, Rory. I did have Scott. I did pick Luke List, so I have all the ones that I thought was a little unique, a little volatile. It was nice to see Luke with a T10. I think I had him for a top 30. He actually led the field off the tee. You had Sam Ryder, who I did not pick, led on approach. And then you had JT Poston, which the only thing he did do was putt, gain almost 9 strokes on the field. And then Cameron Davis, who we've been on for the last few tournaments and had a nice showing again, led the field tee to green. Typically, funny enough, if you would have lost 5 strokes here, you see this number, and if they lead tee to green, that's typically your winner. So there you go. Figure that out. So it was some unique things that happened there. Francesco Molinari, we're going to talk about him later. Some things I want to bring up. The guys that I highlighted in this kind of a lighter gray blue were just the guys that, you know, were less, like, except for Griffin, Lonto Griffin, apologize, were less than 7,000 actually and did over 1x of their cost. So Ted Potter Jr., I'm not worried about that, but Kyle Stanley's kind of interesting. He was kind of showing up here or there on my model, but his form just wasn't great, but he has won at the Waste Management. He won this tournament back in 2012, I believe. So just a note to think, you know, when you're building your teams. Carlos Ortiz, that killed me. I had him in an outright bet, would have been a nice chunk of change. Led the field going into Saturday, 10 under, and then just died. Couldn't hit a green, couldn't hit a fairway, couldn't make a putt. I think he made 1 birdie, shot 6 over. So that kind of stung. I should have cashed it out on Saturday, but it is what it is. Kokrak, was a pick, didn't make any shock. I thought his game fit well. Corey's made the cut. Didn't do anything great, but did all right. Alex Noren was your Friday leader. That's why I got him highlighted. Hideki, I had a pick, I believe, to be a top 20, and he just struggled all around. And I'm actually a little sour on Hideki. I will, it's not rare I even play Hideki just because he's so dependent on hitting great approach shots. And the putter is just, what's always held him back. And his putting wasn't brutal. It was just everything else that typically he does well did not work well. So Cam Smith was a pick, and it's probably time for us to get off the Cam Smith train. He has been losing strokes in multiple categories, especially on approach. His putter, typically he's a solid putter. We were on that train through the FedEx playoffs. It worked out well. It worked out well, even at the Masters. But I think Cam, maybe he's just played too much, but, it's probably someone I'm going to keep a very close eye on. Grillo was a pick. His irons didn't do what they typically did. And, of course, Grillo can't putt. Bubba, I think it was the first time we've seen him since the Masters. So his off the tee and I take it back. He might have played at the Amex. I forget now. But he's just not hitting the approaches and off the tee like he was. Grayson Murray, I had an outright bet on him. I just saw funny. He had the most bogeys at 20. And then, of course, we had some withdrawals. We had Matthew Wolff, who we were fading, and Koepka. So Wolff withdrew. Supposedly he's hitting so many balls, his hands were all messed up, so he withdrew. But I feel bad. There is something going on there mentally. We've talked about that multiple times. That when you go to your home courses and places that you should, especially just where you can just bang the ball all over the place, and just choking. It's crazy. He's still at 9,100. I won't be touching him with a 10-foot pole for a while. Yeah, Charlie Hoffman, 2 withdrawals in a row. I didn't have him as a pick, but, just someone also to keep an eye on. I do believe he's in this field, so proceed with caution on that. I'm trying to think if there was anybody else off the top of my mind that I wanted to talk about. I think that's it. I think that we spent enough time on that. Let's get into the waste management preview here. All right, so as mentioned, going to be going to TPC Scottsdale. This is a tournament that's been around, it's like the 5th oldest forever. We're looking at a par 71. We have 7,261 yards. You've got 3 par 5s, so one less than, I guess, average. But you have 1 more par 4, so you have 11 of those. And then your typical 4 par 3s. The only really defense at this course that I can see and remember, and even kind of looking, I always look at, just a side note, a good thing to do, you can go pull up on YouTube the highlights from each round the previous year. And it just kind of will refresh you on some of the holes and, what were the guys doing that played in this tournament in the previous. It's something that I do. I recommend it. Just check it out. But really, water is the only thing that, can cause some issues here. These guys can just bang the ball off the tee. If you're off the fairway, the rough is not penal. There's not a lot of trees. Typically, weather here is not a problem at all. Literally, it comes down to the guys that can hit, the longer approach, closest to make the putts. The greens are larger than average tour greens here, so we do have to look at 3-putt avoidance, and we're looking for guys that don't make bogeys. So bogey avoidance will be one thing we'll be keeping an eye on. This is a redesign by Tom Weiskopf back in 2014, so just like at the Amex. At Torrey Pines, on the south course, actually that was the north course that he did the redesign. The greens are Bermuda, but I call them Bermuda mutts because they have overseed with bent grass and POA. So they're not like true Florida Bermuda greens, but we're going to go off when we look at the splits, the guys that do well on Bermuda. These are very firm and very fast greens. So I guess if you put that as a defense, that is definitely something to keep an eye on. Fairways and rough is Bermuda, also with some overseed of Ryan Fescue. The cut here, the player field is 132 is what I've got right now. They're typically around 140, so it's maybe a little less. The low 70s, so it makes almost half the field will be cut after 36 holes. So it's 70, which is a little different than T6 ties and 65s, but that's what I could find out. The average cut line here is even. Back in 2013, 3 under. It was like the lowest score or cut line I've seen here. So, average winning scores around 17 under to 18 under. So yeah, they still need to make birdies, but just manage the pars. Of course, from a date perspective, it's Thursday to Sunday, nothing different there. You will be getting NBC on Saturday, Sunday. So I'm guessing they're going to try to get this tournament done before Super Bowl kicks off on Sunday. You've got 4 days of live coverage on PGA Live. I bring that up again. I'm not, sponsored by them by any stretch, but I highly recommend it. You get to watch, some of the players that you don't get to see on the regular, afternoon to evening coverage. And you get to watch the whole tournament. I highly recommend it if you got the time, or even if you're at your computer and just can have it on listening to it. On a side note to that, if you have a Twitter account, or get it a Twitter account, and you get to watch 90 minutes every morning for free. You just go to, I believe, at PGA Tour Live, and it'll be showing it there. You just click on it, and away you go. And then to the key stats that we're going to be looking at again, if you just look at the winners here, so you got Webb Simpson, Ricky Fowler, Woodland, Hideki, who won it back-to-back 2016, 2017. Pretty quickly, I'll tell you, what do these guys do all very well? They hit the longer irons very well. If you look at Webb, not that long off the tee. I mean, none of these guys, except maybe you could put Woodland and Fowler kind of, that can hit it, 3+. But, these are all guys that are pretty accurate off the tee in this time. And also, but the key thing that sticks out to me is really good with the irons in the approach game. So that's the main thing we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at driving distance. You're going to need to be able to scramble a little bit, because I think these guys are going to be bombing it a little more. And if you get off the beaten path, not that you're going to get in a lot of problems, but that you're just going to be able to still be able to hit greens. I already mentioned, you're going to have to make your pars and make your hay on the par fives. Very kind of typical there. And then the proximity to the hole that we're going to be really focusing on is 150 to 75 is what's showing up at Fantasy National from an analysis standpoint, and 200+. So they're the main ranges. All right, I also did this, just thought it makes sense. These are the toughest holes at the course. The number 11 is the one to focus on, is the toughest hole. Number 1 from a handicap perspective. And you can kind of see here, it's kind of difficult, but there's a lot of water that follows the fairway. So that's what can cause the issue here. On the flip side of that, the closing stretch, 13 through 18, are the holes that the guys have to attack. And so that kind of makes it a little bit exciting, of course, coming in, where a lot of fortunes can change on Sunday coming down the stretch. So that's the main things that I wanted to talk about on that. Kind of talk about past course conditions. The only thing, again, that stuck out to me is that, the firm greens, fast speeds. So again, we're going to have to, check the putters, make sure we get the guys that can hit the ball close to the hole. From, like I said, I looked through all the past years, and weather's typically never been an issue here. And then the comp courses that I'm going to be leveraging when I do a little deeper analysis. So, of course, tomorrow I'll be putting out my top plays, and what that consists of is, of course, I look at the guys, I look at their recent form, I look at their history at this course, but then I dive in, I look at the history at all these other courses. Of course, they got to fall into the key stat categories where I want them. And then anything else that I can find out about them, maybe some local guys that, play here quite a bit, or whatever it is, that's when I, of course, bring my picks out. But we're looking at Sanderson Farms is a good comp course. Even though it's not a par 71, it's very, from a course perspective and the greens and the distance, I think it's one of the better fits. You got East Lake, where they played a tour championship. You got the Valspar at Copperhead, Innsbruck. I think it's a great fit. The players, you got the Island hole, of course. You got an Island kind of green here. I think it's 17. And then TPC Southwind, where they play the WGC St. Jude. So put that up there for you guys, so also if you're doing your analysis. These are the courses that I'm going to be looking at, and I think are the best comp courses we have. And then real quick, I did create a quick first pass model and kept the filters on. So the filters that I was using, again, this is through Fantasy National. If you don't have a membership and are, getting into this more and want to do your own analysis, I highly recommend, out of all the tools and all the things that are out there, this is the best one that I found. I don't have a coupon code for you yet, but I'm working on that. But Pat Mayo does have one. I believe it's Mayo 20. But if you go click on one of his things, he'll usually have it in the lower. So you get 20% off. So it works out to about $20 a month. to have full access to all this good information analysis. And I did it at 8 rounds because, funny enough, when I pulled up like 24 or 36, like Fowler would be at the top, like guys that I know that, or have some past form here, so it's not showing a true. So I wanted to do is recent, so like the last 2 times they played here, or this is also looking at those comp courses I just showed you. So I had the filters on to get me to like those 6 comp courses. And what I'm looking at right now is, driving distance. I think that is important. I think that's going to help guys take advantage. And also, of course, hit the ball closer. Typically, if you're closer and in the fairway, so you need to be fairways gains. Of course, green and red was a big one that showed up, which falls into you got to be good with the ball striking, which is tee to green. You got the approach, which is actually the approach after you hit the tee ball. And then we got proximity, I've already discussed. Par 4s, par 5s. As I mentioned, you have to make your hay on par 5s. Scrambling, 3-putt avoidance, putting, and then bogey avoidance. And then the other 2 that I'm probably going to add, or almost for sure I'm going to add, is birdie or better. These are the guys that are getting birdie or eagle opportunities. Who's getting the most of those? Because they're going to need to score. And then if you turn on birdies, then we actually know the guys that are converting. And so from that, we get in this list. Of course, Gary's won here in the past. You got Hideki, who's won here twice in the past. You had Ricky, and you had, Webb Simpson here. So that's a good tell when they're all in like the top 10. Is telling me, okay, I'm looking at the right key stroke stat categories. You got Bubba, so Bubba is going to be playing here. Of course, Rory for the first time will be playing, but I don't know with Rory. I almost pulled him out of my player pool last week after I watched the Abu Dhabi and just watched what he did on Sunday with the putter, just missing 2 or 3 footers. I mentioned this, but I kind of feel like once I make that pick, I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to have a, back out, especially if there's people that, but it kind of came to fruition. Even Rahm, both those guys with the putter struggled. Rahm actually, I think, is a better putter. He actually made better putts. He was just getting lip outs. So I think Rahm's game is still pretty solid. If I had to pick between Rahm and Rory right now, I'd be leaning towards Rahm. Carlos Ortiz, interesting. I think I mentioned, like I said, I had a bet on him on Saturday. So his game is still good form, but he just, I don't know, was mentally just started missing fairways and just kind of fell apart. It's funny, JB Holmes came up pretty well on my model last time, but as I said, I don't even know where he ended up. I have to go take a look, but he's had some shoulder issues. And then, of course, Hoffman down at the bottom there, we've had 2 withdrawals from him. So do not go picking Charlie Hoffman anytime soon. And I think that's about it. You're going to get a lot more analysis in depth of my tomorrow show when I get into the plays. And then, as I mentioned, I want to talk about Francesco Molinari. And this is more for people that are newer to watching golf and DFS. Francesco Molinari, they're like, who? But Francesco Molinari, of course, if you do know him, you know that back 2019 when Tiger won the Masters again, that Francesco was actually in the lead, had a couple bad breaks, hit a tree branch that was hanging over that he did not see. Ball got too high, hit it, boop, into the water, and then things just went south. Ended up with a 5th place finish. But what I wanted to bring up was that what he's done over the past 2 tournaments, and we know that Torrey, if you watch the tournament, it's a tough track. It's a mini major kind of track, and that he had a 10th place finish. He actually had a really good Sunday. I think he shot 5-6 under. So if you had him on Showdown, which I had him in a couple teams, he definitely would have helped you out. But he's just been green across the board. And funny enough, he is actually a pretty good putter. And so if he would have gained more on putting, I'm not saying he would have won that tournament. I'm saying he might have gave Reed a better run for his money. From a professional pedigree, this guy is, solid. And so it also known, he came back to us. He took some time off to deal with some personal family matters. The big one was moving from Europe over to the States. And so he was just getting his game back together at the Shriners. Then came out, had a 15th at the Houston. Of course, he missed a cut at the Masters. But like I said, I really like what I've seen here. I like what I'm seeing from a stroke gain analysis. And just to take an understanding of what this guy did between, the mid 2018 to that Masters we were just talking about, the guy won 3 times, and he won the Open. He won the Quicken Loan, second at John Deere, won the Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill. Had an 8th, so had a pretty good FedEx Cup run here. So long story short, the guy's got a great pedigree, and he is one of the best iron players I've ever seen. Now, he's not in this tournament coming up at the Waste Management, but what I'm getting to is if you look at his price, it was a 7,000 at the Amex. You could have rostered him. He was 7,800 at the Farmers. It's not going to shock me when we see him again. It's all depending on the field, but he's going to be in the 8,000 range. But that's still a pretty good deal for Francesco if he keeps this up. So just keep an eye on him. It's someone I'm going to watch and probably roster. I only played like 6 teams in the big game, the big GPP 200K event. I had 2 that were 6 of 6, but nothing great. They were like $30 each or something like that. But someone I would definitely put in that lineup. Oops, sorry about that. So that's it. That kind of wraps up what I wanted to cover here at the Waste Management. Again, if you like what you're seeing, please let me know. Click the like. If you don't or have suggestions, I would appreciate it greatly. Just let me know what that is. Anybody that that's doing this, I've said this multiple times, please share and let them know what we're doing here. If you've not subscribed, and I can understand, there's multiple times I watched a lot of content and never subscribed. And now I learned why you need to subscribe. So for me to keep doing this, I need subscribers. I need to keep watching that it builds up. Or, I've got no skin in the game on this from any, I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm not, I'm not running commercials. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So please subscribe. I'd appreciate that greatly. It just lets me know that this is still moving in the right direction, and it has been. Hit me up on Twitter, DFS Golf Guru. If you have any questions from a betting perspective, DFS, you can also leave me comments if you have any questions during the tournament or before the tournament. I'll do my best to give you my own advice on that. And that's it. Oh, and last but not least, I would love to get your feedback. If you would like me to get on the camera, let me know. I've had some people mention why haven't you not, been on video? I'm thinking about it. Had some requests. So, if you have any opinion on that, let me know if you care or care not, but would appreciate that. All right, you guys, take care. Let's have a great week. Hope you had an excellent Farmers. I had a solid week. Nothing, amazing, but, I think it broke even when all said and done. So let's have a better Waste Management. Talk to you then.